let's discuss writing today. Yeah, and after we have discussed it, if you return to your lessons on paragraph writing and essay writing, creative writing, all the lessons in writing will make better sense. You will be able to appreciate them better. Okay, so we will discuss two questions today. One is, what is writing? And the other question is, how do we improve our writing? Yeah, okay. Rupa, do you think you can tell me what writing is?
Writing is putting ideas together.
Okay, fine, you're right. Okay, when we write, we combine and arrange ideas together. And of course, we do follow certain rules about punctuation and paragraphing, don't we? Then how do you think writing is different from speaking?
When we speak, the listener is in front of us. And through his expressions, we can make out whether he has understood us or not. And in case he requires any kind of clarification, we can make them then and there. Whereas with writing, it is not so.
But when we write, the person we address, that is the reader, is not present, and he cannot ask for any clarification. So, we need to imagine the reader's response to what we are writing. We have to be extra careful when we write.
Very good. As both of you have pointed out, there are some differences between speaking and writing. When we speak, the listener is in front of us, and if the listener does not understand what we are saying, we can repeat, we can give a clarification. Whereas when we write for a reader who is not in front of us. We write to a reader who is not in front of us. So, we need to anticipate, we need to imagine what the reader requires. Alright? We should also remember that whenever we speak or write, we do it with a purpose, for a purpose. Okay, read this letter and tell me what the purpose of this letter is. Or let me put it this way, what is the writer's purpose in writing this letter?
Dear Siri, I'm sorry I won't be able to join you. We are busy with the annual audit, which will keep us on our toes another week at least. I'm sending the cassettes by courier. Say hi to Jyoti. Have fun. Sohini.
Do you think you can tell me what the writer's purpose is?
Sohini is apologizing to Shri.
And she is giving reasons for not being able to accept her invitation.
Alright. Then do you think she should accept the apology?
I think she should, because Sohini gives a genuine reason for being unable to accept the invitation.
And she seems to be sending the cassette Siri has asked for.
Okay, that's right. Naturally, when you say that you cannot attend a party, you cannot attend a get together, your reader would certainly like to know the reasons for your inability to attend. Fine. So, this is something we imagine, we anticipate when we write. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let's look at the structure of the letter. How does the writer start the letter?
She responds to the invitation first, she declines it.
Then she gives the reasons for declining it. In the same paragraph, she also says that she has sent some cassettes. She must have asked for them.
And finally, she closes the letter saying hi to a common friend.
Right. Let's quickly sum up what we have discussed so far. We said that the letter has a purpose like any other piece of communication. As you know, we communicate to realize different purposes, different functions. For example, this particular letter, the purpose of this letter is to apologize. Can you think of some other functions?
Maybe to invite for invitation.
Okay, invite, yeah. Right. Can you think of some other functions?
To convince.
Okay, convince.
To inform.
Inform.
To
Yeah.
instruct, ma'am.
Okay, instruct.
To persuade, ma'am.
Right, persuade.
To negotiate.
To negotiate. Sometimes to describe, to narrate, to argue. Yeah. So there are different functions that we realize using different ways of communication. For example, it could be a piece of writing, it could be a speech, alright, it could be a dialogue. Fine. Now let's look at the structure again. Yeah? The letter that we have examined so far, it has a very specific structure, right? The writer first establishes contact by responding to the invitation. And look at the way the writer starts the letter. I am sorry. Yeah? That immediately tells the reader that this is going to be a refusal. All right. Okay. Then the writer explains the reasons for her inability. And finally, the writer closes the letter on a very positive note. Have fun. So this is what we can say about the letter. The purpose of the letter is to apologize and continue to maintain goodwill. All right. And then the structure is establish contact, that is respond to the invitation, and then maintain the contact. All right. And finally close or terminate the contact. Always end on a positive note as far as possible. All right. This letter is an example of personal communication in the sense that the writer has written to a friend. We write to our parents, we write to our relatives, don't we? So then we are actually doing personal communication. Then how do we know the reader when we write non-personal communication? That's a question that should always, that is something we should always keep in mind, because there is a lot of difference between writing personal communication and non-personal communication, especially to somebody who is not related to you. Yeah, you are not a friend, you are not very intimate with the reader. All right, then how do we know the reader? Now read these two paragraphs, all right, and tell me which one you would write for your examiner. Munira?
Ma'am, I would prefer A.
Ma'am, it appears to be a form of textbook.
Uh-huh.
It gives instructions to the reader. We cannot ask the examiner to conduct the experiment.
That's right, because the answer says place the sphere or the cylinder between two blocks in contact with a ruler. So when you take a test, who's your reader?
The examiner.
Right. And when you write a textbook, who's your reader?
An
The
unknown
student.
person.
A student perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah. When we say a textbook, it is a book that is prescribed. All right. For instruction. Okay. There you can use the language of instruction. You instruct the reader, the student, to do something. Fine. Okay. Now look at another piece of non-personal communication. Tell me, Niranita, what kind of a reader does the writer have in mind when he has written this? Okay, let's quickly read it. All right. Wild animals usually make their own homes. What is the title, by the way?
Homes for pets.
Right, that is something we should always remember. The title of the text. Homes for pets. Wild animals usually make their own homes, but pets need some sort of house to live in. A kennel is a good home for a dog, and pet birds are best kept in a cage. Many people have fish as pets. Cold water fish can live in an aquarium or a fish pond, while tropical fish need a lot more looking after and will die unless they are in a warm tank with an air pump. Stick insects can be kept in a jar, and ants can be kept in a glass container. Most pets also like something to do. It would be a very boring life for a budgerigar in its cage without a ladder and a bell or a mirror. Mice love exercising a treadmill. Another thing that's essential in a cage is a supply of fresh food and water that is changed daily. Fish too need more than just a home. A fish tank should have a floor of gravel and a few stones. It is also a good idea to have some plants growing in the water to help the fish breathe properly. Now, Niranita, do you think what kind of a read, you can tell me what kind of a reader does the writer have in mind?
Ma'am, the writer doesn't have anyone personally. So,
Then who is he writing for?
Someone who does not know the basic facts of pet keeping.
That's right. Okay. So, does the writer know his reader?
That is why he is giving examples which can be easily understood.
That's right. Yeah, somebody who does not know anything about pets. That's the kind of reader the writer has in mind when he has written this Home for Pets. Alright. So, what is the writer's purpose?
Inform.
That's right, inform. Yeah, the writer is informing the reader. And what kind of a structure do we have here?
The first paragraph is about how, unlike wild animals, pets need a house. Then the second paragraph is about the different kinds of homes for different pets. And finally, what different pets would like to play with in their respective homes.
That's right. Have you enjoyed reading the passage?
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good passage. Okay, so now you understand what the structure of a text is. So there should be a very clear structure whether we speak or write. We should have a very clear structure in mind. Accordingly, we structure the information. Okay. Now, as you can see, the details hold together. As you yourself have pointed out, first, why homes for pets? Yeah, and then what kind of houses for pets? And finally, what do pets like to play with? So, this is a very clear structure. There is something else that I have just mentioned. These ideas all hold together. Yeah, this concept is called coherence. The information holds together. Different ideas hold together, and the focus is very clear. Okay, so this idea is called coherence. All right, how do ideas hold together? All right, and this coherence is actually realized through language. So we go on to the relationships between ideas. Let's say the structure is like this. Why houses for pets, and what kind of houses or what kind of homes where they are comfortable. And finally, what do pets like to play with? All right. Okay. Now there is something else that you should have you should notice when you read this passage. All these ideas hold together, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. This idea of, or this concept is called coherence. This idea of ideas holding together in a passage, in a text, whether we speak or we write, there should be coherence. We cannot talk about different things without connecting them. Yeah,
There has to be a link.
that's right. Yeah. So this linking, this arranging them, this developing a main idea with the help of different ideas, all these things should hold together. This concept is called coherence. All right. Now let's look at this passage and note the underlined words and phrases. These help hold the ideas or bring the ideas together. Okay. Now let me read this. Yeah, and you read along. Okay. Many people have fish as pets. Cold water fish can live in an aquarium or a fish pond, while tropical fish need a lot more looking after and will die unless they are in a warm tank with an air pump. Stick insects can be kept in a jar and ants can be kept in a glass container. Most pets also like something to do. It would be a very boring life for a budgerigar in its cage without a ladder and a bell or a mirror. Mice love exercising a treadmill. Another thing that's essential in a cage is a supply of fresh food and water that is changed daily. Fish too need more than just a home. A fish tank should have a floor of gravel and a few stones. It is also a good idea to have some plants growing in the water to help the fish breathe properly. Right? These are called linkers. All these words which are underlined, the phrases which are underlined, these are called linkers. And of course, they are also called transitional phrases, and sometimes they are called thought connectors or thought connectives. These words and phrases help us link ideas with the help of language. These are all language, aren't they? All these words and phrases are language. And these help us put ideas together. And this linking with the help of language is called cohesion. That is why all these linkers are called cohesive devices. Are you taking notes?
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. So, cohesive devices are essential if we want to connect our ideas using language. Whether you use Telugu or Hindi or Urdu or English, you do connect ideas with the help of language. And you do use linkers, whichever language you write in, speak in, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So, linkers or thought connectives help us combine and arrange our ideas meaningfully, effectively. Yeah. Okay. Let's now read 2 paragraphs and identify the linkers there. The gallery has 1000 exhibits. Are you underlining the linkers?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. The gallery has how many exhibits?
1000.
That's right. In addition, there's a special section where you can find some very rare paintings. However, this is open to public on Sundays only. And the shop on the ground floor sells reprints of most of the paintings in the gallery. Now, can you identify the linkers in the passage?
Yes, ma'am. There are 3 linkers in
Uh-huh.
this text, and they are in addition,
Okay,
however,
right.
and.
Good. Okay. Now we are going to read a passage, and you will find that there are no linkers there. Yeah. What difference does it make to our writing when ideas are not linked explicitly? This is the question we will be answering when we have read this passage. Yeah. If we don't use linkers, what happens? What will happen? Yeah. Many earthquakes occur every day in some part of the world or other. Only a few earthquakes are strong enough to cause destruction. The main shock of an earthquake lasts for a few seconds only. The main shock may be preceded by foreshocks and followed by aftershocks of less intensity. Okay, do you find any linkers over there?
No, ma'am.
That means the ideas are not explicitly linked with the help of any cohesive device. Yeah? Okay. Now, let's read the second passage and see how the linkers give a focus to the passage, give a focus to our writing. Though many earthquakes occur every day in some part of the world or other, only a few earthquakes are strong enough to cause destruction. In fact, the main shock of an earthquake lasts for a few seconds only, but the main shock may be preceded by foreshocks and followed by aftershocks of less intensity. Look at the use of these linkers. Though is one, and what are the others?
In fact,
Yeah,
but,
that's right. So, by adding these 3 cohesive devices, we are giving focus to our writing. Our perspective emerges very clearly when we use cohesive devices, when we link ideas explicitly. That is clearly, we can see them, can't we? So, the writer's point of view also emerges very clearly when he or she uses these linkers. So, these linkers help us present our ideas effectively. Alright? Your meaning does not get diffused if you use linkers. Am I clear?
Yes.
That's right. Okay. Now, in the case of text A, the one where we did not find any linkers, there was no clear point of view. Yeah, there was no clear focus. But in the case of B, there is a point of view, there is a very clear focus. So, now do you see the difference between a passage or communication with linkers and communication without linkers? So, communication which is coherent and cohesive, and communication which is neither, I mean, we cannot say it's not completely coherent. You do get some ideas, don't you, when you read the first passage? Yeah, all these ideas are related to the earthquake, but the ideas actually do not contribute to the emergence of any focus because there are no linkers. So, coherence can be best achieved when we use cohesive devices. In the beginning, if you can recall, we said that we would discuss two questions: what is writing and how do we improve our writing. So we come to the second part now. All right. So if we want to improve our writing, we should find model texts. Yeah. Okay. Let me put it this way. If you are writing about an experiment, you should find texts which describe experiments. All right. If you are writing an advertisement, maybe you should sit down and study a number of advertisements. All right. And if you are writing an essay, perhaps you should sit down and read some essays. Maybe we should read good letters. They do appear in papers and magazines, don't they? And if you want to write an advertisement, as I said earlier, we should read advertisements. So what we should do is, we should always identify the kind of writing that we should do, and then find the model texts to help us. And we should analyze their language and their structure. That is when we can be on our own. So if you want to write well, you should also read well, and you should read the right thing to write effectively. Okay, so reading should be your reading is the first step towards writing better. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So if you want to write better, you should read more. Read as much as you can. Yeah, and read the kind of writing that you should do. That is most important. Okay. So shall we quickly sum up our discussion? Yes. Because we started with the question, what is writing? Yeah, and we said that writing is always ideas together. Okay. Have you made notes?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. So perhaps you will tell me what we discussed first.
The purpose of writing, ma'am.
Okay.
The purpose could be informing someone. It could be an apology for or to instruct something.
That's right. Yeah.
And if we are good writers, then our writing reflect a purpose.
That's right. Very good. Okay. After purpose, what did we discuss?
Structure.
That's right. Okay.
First we have is it establish contact,
Okay.
and that is it responds to invitation.
Okay.
And second is maintain contact, that is it explains the reason.
Okay. So what you are doing is, you are actually discussing structure in relation to the letter that we examined. Okay.
And third
Yeah.
one is terminate contact,
Okay.
and it ends with a positive note.
That's right. All right. Yeah. And the purpose, structure. What was the next one that we discussed?
The reader,
All right.
because writing is a two-way process,
Uh-huh.
and when we speak,
Yeah.
we speak to a listener.
That's right.
But when we write to a reader.
That's
so
right,
The
yeah.
reader is very important when we write.
Yeah.
We have to keep in mind the reader.
That's right. Yeah. So purpose, structure, reader. Then
Coherence, ma'am.
coherence. Okay.
Coherence is the unity of our writing.
Okay.
How ideas hold together.
Okay.
We develop ideas and combine ideas.
All right.
And then finally, cohesion.
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 Okay. Cohesion. And what is cohesion?
Cohesion is linking ideas using language.
All right. And can you recall some of the cohesive devices that we came across when we read these passages?
However,
Okay. However.
In fact,
In fact.
while,
While.
in addition,
Okay.
more important.
Okay. There are-
and
Yeah. Okay.
but,
You can also think of in contrast, on the other hand, right?
contrary to.
Contrary to, okay. Yeah. Nevertheless, all right. There are quite a few cohesive devices. So whenever you read a good text, you should underline these cohesive devices, look up a dictionary, and learn how to use this device in writing. In use, how do we actually use it when we speak or write? Okay. So these are the things which you should remember when you write. In fact, I suggest that you remember them when you speak too. So if you want to write, shall we say, a pamphlet, yeah, what will you read?
Pamphlets.
Precisely. Pick up half a dozen pamphlets, read them, and then you will realize the language and structure of pamphlets. All right. Okay. And if you are representing a team, say basketball or cricket or some team. Have you actually heard? I mean, you must be watching a number of cricket matches on the TV.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. At the end of the match, there is a presentation ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah. The losing captain and the winning captain are interviewed.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Have you ever heard these? Have you ever carefully? Have you ever tried to analyze these interviews? If you were a captain, you would.
Yes.
Because if you were to represent a team, if you were to be interviewed, how would you respond? Something like this. Okay, as simple as that. Anyway, so model texts are always useful, whether spoken text or written text. They help you find your feet. You will be on your own, and that is what you should be looking for. Writing involves a lot of rewriting too. We read and revise our ideas and language. We check our grammar, and of course we examine our writing in relation to all that we have just discussed. We may have to write, that is sometimes more than 2 drafts or 3 drafts, and we write and rewrite till our writing is reader friendly. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.